my last Sunday preaching here, though I'll be your pastor for 2 more weeks. And then Pastor Troy will be coming, if all goes according to the bishop's plan, to be your new pastor. Some transitions are welcome. When the bishop or the district superintendent asked me to accept an appointment at Grace Church, I was delighted. In the 1960s, I sat right back there when Willie Jackson came as pastor to this church. And when Edsel was here, I was friends. And Elbert, I met Elbert 40-some years ago when Leroy Brown was pastor here, and Elbert was involved with him in things. And so I was delighted. Other transitions are not so welcome. When I was in junior high, my family moved from Vancouver, Washington to the Seattle area, and in Vancouver, I had 20-some cousins that lived nearby. Almost all of us went to the same church. We saw each other weekly. I had friends that I'd been in school with all of my life up to that point. And the move to an unfamiliar town with a bunch of strangers was not a welcome change, not a welcome change. And with those unwelcome ones, we always wonder, am I going to survive this? What am I getting into? What's this going to be like? Some of you remember a number of years ago, a little mountain south of us decided to blow its stack. And my cousin Al was a forester for Weyerhaeuser Corporation, and he got to be one of the members of one of the first crews to go in after the eruption and to take a look at the damage that had been done to the forest there and to start to guess what was going to happen in the future and how to strategize for recovering the loss of timber in that area. And he was astonished. He used the same term that so many newscasters did. It was a moonscape. There was nothing visible alive. And they wondered, how could it ever recover? Because it was miles of this. Miles of this. And a few years later, he went in with another team, and he was astonished. They had expected fireweed to be there because fireweed seeds must be every place in Washington state, because it's usually the first thing to pop up whenever there's a logging operation or fire. But there were all kinds of plants there, and not just plants, but animals. Voles. Do you know what a vole is? Go home and look up vole. It's a little critter. Voles were there, and birds were there. But what astonished them was elk were there, feeding on the very young alder trees that were growing. And it was testimony again to the God's desire for life to prevail, and no matter what disaster hits, God's working in the midst of it to bring new and abundant life.
All right.
A thing I want you to know about seeds and growing is that seeds grow well in good soil. The same is true of pastors. Any competence I have as a pastor is because God planted within me some inherent gifts, and loving, caring congregations nurtured those seeds within me to be the person I am today. Every congregation has taught me new things that I needed to know for the next place I would go. I went to a training event for staff parish relations committees once, and the district superintendent that was leading it said, the best thing a congregation can do is find out what their new pastor's gifts are, let that pastor do those things, and figure out how the congregation can pick up where the pastor isn't strong at. One of the blessings of this congregation is you have such a strong laity, and you're so used to doing things on your own without leaning on the pastor, that you do that naturally. And I've been able to do some things that I felt led and called to do. And so God planted me here. We did some things we didn't expect to be doing. I've never done a pet waste station before. Why did we do the things we did? We did the things that we did because we follow in the footsteps of Jesus Christ, who tried to make life better for every person that he met along the way. And we looked outside our window and we saw people walking dogs, and we thought we could make it easier if we gave them a place to drop their little bags. A tiny thing, but it makes life better. We did these things because we want the congregation to have a known reputation for being a congregation that's involved in the life of the community and caring about the life of the community. We want our caring to be visible to our neighbors so they know when they need care, this is the place that they come. And we've done that effectively. We've done these things because we wanted to grow ourselves in our gifts as a congregation. And when we have gotten together out here doing landscaping in the yard, building a tiny house, clearing the steps with the community, did you notice that? We asked the Leschi News to advertise that we were doing these projects, and the Leschi News invited us to be engaged with the community on a community enhancement project. And it was noticed, and it was published, and people know that isn't just a strange little brick telephone company building set back in the trees on the corner of Dearborn and 30th. It's a congregation of living, breathing Christian human beings who are not only willing to invite us to be involved in their projects, but they're willing to come and be invested in the community. Seeds are growing because of the grace of God. Seeds are growing because they've been growing in your lives for decades. Seeds will grow under Pastor Troy because of the nutritious soil of Grace Church in which he's going to be planted. I thank each and every one of you. Candace isn't the only one with leaky eyes in the family. I thank each and every one of you for your friendship, for your patience, for your understanding. And we're going to miss you. Oh, and for your music. Oh, every church I've gone to has taught me a few new songs. This one's taught me more than most. And I love them. And they asked us what we wanted to hear this morning, and there wasn't time in an hour to sing the ones we wanted to hear this morning. Far too many. But I want to thank you for that. And so may God be the glory. May our thanks be shared with God, who has brought us together as friends and family to nurture each other. And may the Spirit be strong in this congregation as we go through this transition to discover what God has planned for us next. Amen.
Amen.